Having a hard time choosing what embossing folder to use on your cards? Well, why choose just one? Today I want to share a double embossing technique that will enable you to use two different embossing folders to create a variety of different textures and patterns on your cards. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, you will learn how to use two embossing folders together to create some stunning effects on your cards. Now, the cards in this video feature the Stampin Up Climbing Roses bundle along with a few of my favorite embossing folders. But keep in mind that you can use this technique with just about any embossing folders that you have on hand. So take a look at what you have and see how they can work together. By the end of this video, you will have two beautiful card making ideas featuring this double embossing technique. For the latest card making ideas, be sure to subscribe to my channel and click on that little bell so you will be notified each time I upload a new video. Now, I love the look of embossing. I love the simplicity and the texture. So give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment below and let me know what you enjoy most about embossing. Okay, so first let's talk about the supplies that you will need to create these cards. You will need some white and Highland Heather cardstock for the base of your cards and for the accent pieces. And of course, for the double embossing technique, you are going to need to choose some of your favorite embossing folders. So for these cards, I am using three different embossing folders. The Tufted embossing folder, the Subtles embossing folder, and this Lovely Floral embossing folder. I will also be using the Climbing Roses stamp set from Stampin' Up. So it has some beautiful floral images that work really well with the purple colors that I have in the cards. Now you will also want to choose some type of shape to use with your greetings. So I decided to use, again, these rectangular stitched framelits. They seem to be my go-to shape or my go-to framelit set for creating cards. Of course, we will also be doing a bit of coloring on these cards today. So again, I'm going to be using the Stampin' Blends. I'm using the set of Highland Heather and Mossy Meadow. You will need some black ink to stamp all of the images that we will be coloring and to stamp the greetings. And then finally, we'll do a little bit of embellishing with some pearls and some little polka dot tulle. All right, that's it. I think we're ready to get started. The double embossing technique. All right, let's start by creating these beautiful double embossed backgrounds for both of the cards. So for this technique, you will need to choose two different embossing folders with patterns that will work well together. Now, what I mean by that is you want to pair up a smaller pattern with a larger pattern. So the first double embossed pattern I will share features the Subtles and Tufted embossing folders. So I'm going to start by embossing a 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of purple cardstock with the Subtles pattern. So this is the smaller pattern. Now I'm going to take the embossed cardstock and I'm going to place it in the Tufted embossing folder and send it through the embossing machine again. So you will notice that the Subtles pattern will add a slight texture in the tufted areas, and you wouldn't have had that if you simply used the Tufted folder. Now this second double embossing idea might be a bit more obvious or more bolder than the first one I shared. So I'm going to start by embossing a 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of purple cardstock with the Tufted embossing folder pattern. So in this case, the Tufted embossing folder is actually the smaller pattern. Now I'm going to take the embossed cardstock and I'm going to place it in the Lovely Floral embossing folder and send it through the embossing machine again. Now you will notice that the Tufted pattern appears as a texture in the background behind the pretty floral pattern. Pretty cool, hey? I just love the different textures you can achieve with this technique. I mean, just think of all the possibilities. Think about all the embossing folders that you have right now in your craft room. For more embossing techniques, you can click on the playlist that's featured at the top of the screen. So what did you think of this technique? Give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this technique. All right, so now that we have our double embossed backgrounds created, let's get busy making the cards. So this first card features the double embossed background created from the Subtles and the Tufted embossing folder. So to make this card, I started with a piece of white cardstock cut at 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 inches. I scored the 8.5 inch side at 4¼ inches to create the base of the card. Next, adhere the 5¼ by 4 inch double embossed piece of Highland Heather cardstock to the white card front. Now use a stronger adhesive like tear and tape. I recommend a stronger adhesive simply because of all the texture on the embossed piece. Stamp the large Climbing Roses image on a scrap piece of white paper using black ink. Cut out the image by hand or use the coordinating framelit set if you have it. Color in the flowers and the leaves. We are going to be using Highland Heather for the flowers and Mossy Meadow Stampin' Blends for the leaves. Now if you don't have Stampin' Blends, you can always use your favorite coloring tool to color in the image. Adhere the Climbing Roses to the center of the embossed cardstock with a few dimensionals. Snip a few pieces of the polka dot tool and adhere it across the flowers. Stamp a greeting on a scrap piece of white cardstock using black ink. Cut out the greeting with the rectangular stitched framelit dies or with any other shape that you have on hand. Adhere the greeting over the tool using a few dimensionals. Then go ahead and trim the tool if necessary. For the finishing touch, simply embellish the card with a few pearls. And that's it. Very simple and very beautiful. Now the second card features the double embossed background created from the Tufted and Lovely Floral embossing folders. To create this card, start with a piece of white cardstock cut at 5.5 by 8.5 inches. Score the 8.5 inch side at 4¼ inches to create the base of the card. Next, tie a bit of polka dot tulle in a double knot around the bottom part of the purple cardstock. Ensure the double knot is off-centered a bit and resting on the left-hand side of the card front. You can trim the ends of the tulle if necessary. Adhere the 5¼ by 4 inch double embossed piece of Highland Heather cardstock to the white card front using stronger adhesive like tear and tape. Stamp 2 small rose images on a scrap piece of white paper using black ink. Color in the flowers and the leaves using the same color stamping blends, the Highland Heather and Mossy Meadow, or you can use your favorite coloring tools. Cut out the roses by hand or use the coordinating framelit set if you have it. Stamp a greeting on a scrap piece of white cardstock using black ink. Cut out the greeting with the rectangular stitched framelit dies or any other shape that you have on hand. Then simply adhere the greeting over the right-hand side of the tool with a few dimensionals. And for the finishing touch, embellish the card with a few pearls and the little roses that you cut out. Now you can also bling it up a little bit more if you want by adding some Wink of Stella or using a little glitter pen to color in the petals of the embossed flowers. Now you have two beautiful card ideas featuring the double embossing technique and the Climbing Roses stamp set. Now remember, you can use just about any embossing folders that you have on hand with this technique, so get creative with it. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the project shared here today. Have fun getting creative, take care, and I'll see you soon.